like they've come on.
Pheasant.
Yeah, oh, there's loads of them. Yeah, yesterday I was walking down and 3 of them jumped out from the domes. Yeah, so.
John, where are we in the world?
Yeah, so this hill is called Barrack Hill. It's right at the entrance to Portmagee, which is a small fishing village on the very southwest coast of Kerry.
This is your family's farm, is it? Or was a farm? I don't think you're farming anymore here, are you?
Correct, yeah. The last real farmer of the land would have been my grandfather,
Right.
who's John Murphy. And when myself and my brother set up the business here at Portmagee Whiskey, we decided to give some of that land back to nature, and that's what we have behind us here. We've about half of the farmland, the original farmland, is handed back, and we've about 5 acres of native woodlands planted. When we set up the business, we had a big idea of we wanted to create something sustainable. We didn't want a flash in the pan business. We wanted something that you could hand over to the next generation and long term provide a stable base of ideally jobs, employment, opportunity for the village. And so what we did is we said, right, planting this woodlands was part of our sustainability goals, and it was actually the first thing we did. The idea is that this will become a woodlands walkway, nature trail, connecting the village to the distillery facility, provide something, an amenity to visitors, but also to locals, and particularly, look, weather like this, imagine in winter time, the person in Portmagee is nowhere to walk. But in 20, 30 years time, they'll have a lovely place to go.
So I love it. So it's kind of like, it's a bit about the sustainability of your business. It's your business demonstrating its sustainability, but also like social or community sustainability. It's not open yet, but maybe that at some point in the future, this might be a place for the people of Portmagee or this part of South Kerry broadly to take a walk.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose what we would have seen growing up here is that wintertime can get quite bleak, and our entire generation, almost to the last person left the area at a certain stage, and it's very hard to see somebody growing up here raising a family here unless you start to address some of these issues, and some of them are just very simple places to go to get out of shelter or to get into shelter for a walk. And my grandmother, God rest her, lived in where my brother now lives, and I remember during her last few years of her life here, she could go through winter and there could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks where she wouldn't even get outside because where would she go? Where would you go?
How did you hear about this idea that you could get support to create a woodland?
Yeah, I guess just obviously Google straight away. I said, look, I want to try and do woodlands, so Googled woodlands, and then the native woodland scheme or establishment scheme was one of the first things that eventually came up, and got in contact with a forestry crowd, SWS Forestry. Few forms to fill out. It was actually relatively simple.
What species did you go for here, or what was decided would be good for the site?
So a lot of the expertise was on the forester side of the house for that. So there's over 5,340 trees planted. There's over 2,700 of them are alder. So alder is pretty good for wet ground. It grows fast. It's supposed to provide the shelter for the rest of the trees. There's about 700 odd birch trees, and then there's 550 of oak, rowan, hazel, and about 530 Scots pine as well.
Yeah.
So it's all native trees, all beautiful trees if they come up.
Do you need to pay for it? Nothing.
Nothing. So
You paid nothing.
The scheme was nothing paid. The forestry company is paid to put the trees in. They're paid for the first 4 years to look after the woodlands, to get it to a certain level, and they have to have it at, I think it's 90% of the trees are alive and doing well. And then after that, then there's still a kind of a payment for the next years up to year 15.
Right.
But then obviously there's other schemes then, because now you have an established forest you can start looking at. We started this with very limited knowledge in reality, and I guess the more you know, the better. So, trying to gain that knowledge is really vital. If you did have land and you've got no real use for it, it's like, for me, native woodlands, it's good for the environment, it's good for local people, it's good for lots of things, and I just think it's an amazing scheme that's there to be used, and rather than let the land go and do nothing, just to go and do it. For me, it's a no-brainer, and they'll work with small plots of land. Like, this is 5 acres, it's not a huge area by any means, and what we're going to get out of 5 acres for ourselves, for our families, and for the community here is going to be massive in the years to come. what we have noticed is the wildlife has come back straight away.
Tell us a bit more about that.
So obviously this is open fields. You'd always have hares and a few things, but now we've rabbits, we've pheasants, we've lots of birds. Bats are starting to come back as well. Not that the bats are in here or anything, but they are flying around especially during the summer. You'd see them at night time and stuff like that. Lots of different bird life, hedgehogs, all that kind of stuff is just becoming more visible and more regular. So it's great. Children growing up here now, in a few years' time, as this trail develops, they'll start to have that. And they'll have that immersion into nature at a much younger age, and with stuff that exciting to learn, and we'll see where that goes.
I've seen these in the trees. Do you know what they are?
No, go for it.
Do you know?
No.
At all?
No.
It's a very cool thing. So there's the whole. So there's a wasp, a gall wasp, and they land on the oak tree. This is an oak tree here, and they have a thing in their tail called like an ovipositor. It's basically a needle that lays eggs, and they lay an egg into the skin, and the tree has this reaction to the egg, and it builds this around the egg, right? And then a couple of months later or weeks later, I don't know the timeline, a wasp will hatch inside this ball, eats the contents of the middle of the ball and eats its way out then and flies away. That's its life cycle. Flies away. But tying back into the skelligs, actually, the inside of these, if you break them open, you scoop out the inside and you mix it with water, I think it's black ink, and it was the ink the monks used.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a cool story.
Fascinating,
You see them on a lot of the trees, and there's loads of different types, and there's artichoke galls and knapper galls and everything, but they're a cool little bit.
Better try.
Yeah.